Perfect competition. All right. So we talked about, and I'm going to write very small this time on the whiteboard. Okay. So we have, remember we talked about, we have a market graph and we have a graph for a firm, right? So let's say this is the market. And here we're going to write down everything for one firm in the market. Okay. In case of monopoly, it's the same graph, right? Because the firm actually takes the market demand is given. Monopolistic competition, they share the market demand, but the market demand is still downward sloping, right? What about in case of perfect competition? That's what we do. Perfect competition, and we are, what can you say about economies of scale? We have constant returns to scale. Okay? Constant returns to scale in this case. So you guys know the market graph, right? Market, perfect competition, market demand and supply. You guys remember that? Straight line. Straight line. Is that straight? I don't think so. I think it's exactly parallel to the one that I drew before. So market demand, yeah, coming from the consumers, yeah, they maximize their welfare. Supply side is coming from the producers. And what does that determine? That determines your equilibrium price. Right? That's the market demand and supply. That's the graph for the market in a perfect competition market, perfectly competitive industry. What about for an individual firm? Can't specify more. A firm. We're looking at just one firm in this industry. What does it look like? Well, first of all, the large number of firms, can they influence the prices in the market? No, right? They can't influence the prices. They take the prices given. So if I want to produce lattes and I come into the market and I say, you know what, I'm going to charge $6 for my lattes. How many people do you think are going to come to the market? Or California rolls. Are there more sushi restaurants in Vancouver than coffee shops? I think so. Yeah. All right, so we have large number of. So what happens for each one firm? When it enters the market, it has been told what the market price is. Yeah? So the price that is given, that is the price they can sell the good at. How many goods can they sell at that price? As many as they want to. They can sell as many as they can. So what is the demand function? The demand function is that at this price they can sell as many units of goods as they want. If they charge price higher, nobody buys from them. If they charge price lower, they could, but we'll show that they'll be making losses and they'll have to exit the market. So what is the market demand that's faced by one firm in the perfectly competitive industry? The price is a straight line. That is the demand function that they face. Price equal to marginal revenue. This is the demand function that they're facing. Yeah? Demand is the marginal revenue in this case. It's no downward sloping because they have no market power. They cannot influence the prices. So then what do? Well, exactly what we did before. We just superimpose the cost structure on this. What are the cost structures? You have the average cost function. Average cost function. You have the marginal cost. Wherever the marginal cost intersects the marginal revenue, that's how much you produce. What is the price you charge? Well, the price is exactly what the price is charged. What is the average cost? Here. What's happening in this case? Average cost is more than the price. The firm is making a loss in this case. Right? So what's going to happen? This firm is going to exit the market, and we're just looking at the long run. In the short run, we'll bring in average variable cost and average total cost. Average total cost. And what happens in the long run is everybody makes zero economic profits. So this is what the graph looks like in the long run. Marginal cost, average total cost. This is where you produce. Marginal cost is equal to marginal revenue. This is the price. So do you see? It's operating at the minimum of the cost function where you have constant returns to scale. Yeah? No economies of scale here. Operating at the constant returns to scale. Profits being made in the long run is zero for a firm in a perfectly competitive industry. I'm going to go to the next step, which is just fantastic. So if you haven't understood something here, can you please let me know? Anything that I can repeat for you guys?
Would the demand curve go like eventually it would just like go downwards, right?
Because you're such a small player in this market, you can never be producing so much that you can exhaust the market.
Okay, that makes sense. And like I just don't see why like this situation would exist if average total cost is equal to marginal revenue.
That's what's happening
like,
here.
If they're not making any profit, then why?
We're talking about economic profits. We're not making. So when you talk about economic profits, you've taken into account the returns to investments as well, right? Everybody's being paid for this. So if I'm working in my shop, I'm getting a wage as well. That is included in this. We're talking about economic profits. You know? I can explain that to you later. Okay. So you're making zero economic profits, and that's what happens in the long run. Now, what would happen, if you guys can just pay attention here, what would happen if the market price increases? Right? Well, wherever marginal cost, because the new price becomes the marginal revenue, here's the marginal revenue, that's how much you produce. What if the price keeps increasing? This is how much you produce. This is how much you produce. So for this firm, what determines how much they produce as prices change? The marginal cost does. Right? So for this firm, the supply function, his supply function, I shouldn't draw it here because that's market, right? For this firm, what does the supply function look like for this guy? Well, it really traces the marginal cost function. This is his, which is the supply function for this guy. Let's give the firm a name. Let's call him Starbucks. Okay. So this is the supply function for this one. Okay. Now, what's the market supply function? This is the market supply function. How do you calculate the market supply function? Well, market supply function is exactly what we did for the demand function. We have individual supply functions. Supply function should be positives. We have individual supply functions. Horizontal summation of all the supply functions will give you the market supply. Yeah? Horizontal summation of all the individual supply functions will give you the market supply function. What does the horizontal summation means? Well, this is what we did last time. I'm just going to make a small square here. We asked the question at price, say, $2, how many coffees would one firm sell, Starbucks? How many coffees would Blend sell? How many coffees would Urban sell? And all the other local stores that sell coffee here. Right? So you're asking the minimum price at which they're willing to sell the good at. Right? So you have all those, then when you add these up, you get the market supply.
Why did you get P over 2?
Market supply. Oh, no, not P over 2. This is the price. Then you're going to ask, at price equal to 4, how much do you sell? And then you add them up, right? So that's your horizontal summation of the individual supply functions, which gives you market supply. Then that market supply is the one that is in the market equilibrium, right? And you have the equilibrium price, and that gives you the equilibrium conditions in the market. The price in the market is the one that the firms now take as given and maximize their profits by producing at marginal revenue equal to marginal cost.